My name is Mike Eisenberg. I'm the curator of the Acousmatic Crossing series, which is being published on the Metapsychosis site. Um, that is a series that started several months ago. I think it was early this year. That was a result of a call for submissions that we had. And at the time, I was expecting 20 submissions max. I would have been happy with 20. Turns out we got over 60. So subsequently, the series, the Acousmatic Crossing series, is going to run through the rest of this year and well into next year, probably November, December of next year. So it's a long running series. We're I'd say about 35% into it right now. So we've got a lot of different artists in the pipeline, and the publications are are on a bi-weekly basis, so approximately 2 a month. Um, yeah, so there might be some people here that don't know what acousmatic music is. So I'm just going to briefly make just some very brief and probably vague comments about what it is. And, quite simply, it's music where the source of the sound is abstracted out of the sound that the listener is actually hearing. So the listener most likely does not know what is producing the sound. Um, and that is what I consider the prime superpower of this music, because what that does is opens the door for the listener to use their imagination. And they could come up with all kinds of stories that while listening to these sounds, and really the possibilities are endless. So I think this is really important music today. Mainly because we're all getting bombarded on a constant basis through all different avenues of media with commercials, commercials that scream "buy my product," um, and it's just a nonstop barrage of music, noise, sounds, but they're all being funneled into that one main demand, which is buy me, buy whatever I'm selling. I think acousmatic music is an antidote to that. It it's subversive in a way, because it's the exact opposite. It's not telling the listener anything. It's up to the listener's engagement to come up with their own story as they listen. So if you go in with an intention like that, and I'm not saying how to listen to the music, but if you go in with an intention to just let the music be, don't worry about the sounds, let the music act on your soul, um, come up with any kind of narrative you want. That's different than what's being um, fed into the public nowadays. So that's a very brief comment about the acousmatic. And again, I think the fact that the sounds are veiled um, is a superpower, because it really, really incites the listener to do a little work. All right. Yeah. One thing I don't think acousmatic music is passive ambient music. And when I say ambient music, I mean the Brian Eno definition of ambient, which is it could be very ignorable. It doesn't have to be, but it could be. I don't necessarily think acousmatic music could be ignorable. In fact, I don't think it should be ignorable. Um, I think a certain amount of intentionality and commitment by the listener um, is needed to get what acousmatic music is offering. So that's the reason why I listen to it. And you know, I figure I'm going down this route with the imaginal, that it opens up pathways into the imagination. As just a suggestion for people, because I'll be the first to say that some of this music might be a little difficult. You know, you might consider it noise. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if you go in with a certain intentionality, to just let the sounds be, you know, it doesn't matter what's producing them. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. Just let them be and see how they act upon your imagination, your very self, your very being. I think it'll turn out to be a very beneficial listen for you. And so that's my that's my little sermon. So again, I'm just offering a suggestion, especially for people who are non-musicians or unfamiliar with this type of music, of how to listen. It's just go in there with an intention to give it attention. So yeah, that's basically my little sermon about acousmatic music. Now, what I wanted to continue with here is, everything I just said may sound a little serious, like, oh, this is deadly serious. Um, yeah, there's no humor here at all. This is not a lighthearted adventure I'm on. You know, we're talking about, you know, the inner soul, the inner imaginal. Yeah, this is no laughing matter. Well, I'm gonna disagree with that, because there is a lot of this music that is very lighthearted. And what I'd like to do is play about a 3.5 minute piece, by one of the undisputed masters of the space. Her name is Beatrice Freya. That I hope adds a little of this, you know, shows a little of this lightheartedness that could be informed inside this music. So let me just cue this up. It's about a 3.5 minute work, and I would suggest headphones. In fact, I would suggest headphones on everything we're going to play today. Yeah, I think you'll get a lot more out of the music if you put those on. So here's a piece by Beatrice Ferrea, um, that's a little bit more humorous and lighthearted.
Sul mio naso, torta pasta, così orecchio. Naso rosso, mano verde, orecchio. Piede giallo. Questo cagnolino è andato lontano. Pancino. Questo cagnolino è rimasto a casa. Ehi! Naso rosso. Sentiamo che orecchio blu. voglio bene. Sì! Piede giallo. Sei uno sentiamo, è l'ora di insieme. Sì, uno spazio. Sì. È l'ora di imparare. Abbracciami.
There you have it. Very playful, very cartoonish, even
What's
in
the
part.
title of the piece?
Okay, so you're going to have to excuse my French because I don't speak French. But maybe somebody could correct me. It's called Deus Dents Deors. It's a homage to Bernard Parmigiani. Um, or it's I know Parmigiani did a piece um with the word teeth in it. I don't remember the exact title of the piece, but this is a short piece that Beatrice did in response to that. So it's just a more playful look at Parmigiani's music. Um, so Deus Dents Deors. Anybody speak French? Does that sound?
It sounds like God dance outside, but that's as much as my French will do. So it's probably completely wrong.
Yeah, I know the word teeth is in the title, and I do apologize for my pronunciation and lack of good translation. But it's on an album that was released a few years ago, put out by the Persistence of Sound label. It's actually no, it's not the Split album that she did with Natasha Barrett. It's under her own name, Beatrice's own name. I'd be happy to put it in the notes. It's called Abuelas Intravirat Radis. So it's a very, very good album. It is available on Bandcamp as well. So anyways, so that's a little levity to begin with. So we're going to start talking with our guests. We're going to start with Ali Balighi. Thank you for agreeing to do this. We really appreciate you being here. Ali was one of the first people that submitted a work. It's called Electropoem, and the specific number is number 11. I believe is there 10 Electropoem pieces?
15.
15, okay, because you put out an album of all of them, but it seems to only start at 4, and it goes.
Yes.
So are the others going to show up somewhere, or are they going to be published?
I mean, Electropoem number 1, 2, 3 was just code.
Okay.
I wrote the code and I publish on my website. Just it. And if anyone want to listen to those music, they need to install Super Collider and run the code because it will play forever. I cannot select between them. Yeah.
Okay, so I would highly recommend this album, which is also available on Bandcamp, where Ali collects all the non-code musical pieces of the Electropoem series together in one place. I know that he's offering them separately as well, but why not buy the entire album? It's a great listen. It's
Thank you.
fantastic. Um, so for that series, your Electropoem series specifically, um, tell us about that. What were you trying to achieve, either for yourself or for for the listener, um, when composing those pieces? Um, was there any preconceived ideas,
Mhm.
thoughts about what you were trying to achieve with those pieces?
Yes, of course. In 2023, I started work on a paper about music, electronic, and special music. I mean, using multi-channel and different speakers for performing music. It was just a part of my education at Texas Tech. And after that, I completed the article and it was published in South Korea magazine named Emily. Emily is a journal in Electroacoustic Society in South Korea. And after that, I was thinking that why I didn't use these techniques, these technologies for composition. And I start composing music for multi-channel speakers. And after that, it was the first step. I start writing code in Super Collider. And I borrowed some speakers from the university and I started listening to my music because with headphone it was impossible to listen it. And after that, I started working on microtones and microtonal scales. And I tried to find some synthesizer that supports microtones, and it was very challenging too. And finally, I decided that it should connect to a thing that I like a lot, and it was poem for me. And for this reason, I select electro poem or something like that. That I want to connect electroacoustic music to poem. For this reason, I select this title, and especially the old music at all. I try to use poetic atmosphere for all of them and microtonal scales as well as multi-channel music. It was the whole idea, but for every different piece I try to find a new material, a new space for composition.
Has the piece been performed multi-channel? I would imagine, and I've listened to the entire Electropoem series.
Thank you.
I would imagine it sounds absolutely mind-blowing with an array of speakers. I mean, I'm unfortunately limited to good old stereo, and it sounds fantastic through headphones.
Thank you.
But has the piece been performed in a venue that enables the multi-channel diffusion?
Uh, yes, I sent. I I think I sent all of the pieces to different festivals, and during in 2025, I think they were performed in South Korea, China, Iran, uh, Germany, United States, and some countries in South America. And unfortunately, I couldn't go there for some visa problem. But
Yeah.
I had some recitals at Texas Tech for this kind of music.
Yeah, I wish, and I live in a big city. I live in Chicago, and I really wish there was a dedicated venue that could set themselves up with a system, not unlike the Acousmonium or some sort of ambisonic type system where you get that total immersion. But I've yet to find. There might be one place I'm thinking of in Chicago that does it, but yeah, I've yet to find a dedicated venue. So yeah, it's the good old headphones for me, and this piece sounds wonderful through headphones. The mixing, the stereo panning, going around, going all over the place. Really good job. And we are going to be diffusing that in just a little bit, but I wanted to talk more about your music in general, because I'm looking through your catalog on Bandcamp, and it seems some of the pieces, some of the works have uh, carry an Islamic mystical vibe. Uh, so some people here might know that I'm a big fan of the French philosopher and Islamic historian Henri Corbin, and his notion of the mundus imaginalis. In fact, it's very influential when I listen to acousmatic music, um, thinking about the words of Henri Corbin. Um, do you and I've noticed you have a piece called I forgot what album it's on. The piece is called Mount Kaf, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, QAF. And I know that comes straight out of what I've read from Corban. Um, but generally, is a lot of your music influenced by the mythologies, Islamic mythologies, philosophies, mysticism? Um,
Uh, I was born in Iran in a Muslim family, of course, and undoubtedly, Islam and everything that related to Islam, of course, has some effect on my life and my society too. You mentioned the Mount of Kaf. Mount of Kaf is a very old and ancient story in Iran, and the whole of album was based on the story. But the narrator Hannah, she's a composer in France. She read the story, but not the original one, because one of other my friend wrote a story based on the Mount Kaf, and she narrate and read the story, but the story had the basic elements, and as you mentioned that it has some roots to Islamic philosophy. But as you may know, everything in Iran, unfortunately, is very politic, especially music,
yeah,
uh, uh, stories, and everything. For this reason, the writer used that uh, that story for rewrite, recreate the story with the real, real situation in Iran. I mean, the story and the name of the story is the same, but with new idea. The original one is about many birds that they try to find God, and finally they understood that they are God. I mean, the birds are God. But in the story that I was working is about a person's waiting for freedom, and finally, like that bird, he kill himself to to find the freedom, just eat. I mean, they are connected in their roots, but in a different way.
Yeah, so from the Corban lens, and speaking as a Westerner, and I appreciate you going into depth there. From the Corban lens and from my lens, I was seeing Mount Kaf as the veil between this world that we're living in right now and what Corban calls the Mundus Imaginalis. So the mystic is seeking Mount Kaf, climbing to the pinnacle and crossing over into the other world of the liminal world, between our world and the divine pleroma. So that's my knowledge of Mount Kaf. I just thought it was interesting. The piece itself is, it's been a while that I've listened to it. It's acoustic. Is it? Um,
The cuff mount, do you mean?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is completely electronic. I use Super
Oh,
Collider for making it.
okay, I have to go back and hear the piece again. But yeah, thank you for that. We're going to talk about your latest album, Gazale Ve. But first, let's get back to the Electropoem series. We're going to diffuse the piece that Ali submitted for the call for submissions. It's Electropoem number 11. So let me get that queued up, and we're going to play that. One moment. Okay, Electropoem number 11 by Ali Balighi. Again, if you got headphones, I would recommend putting them on. Electropoem number 11.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Wow. Just hitting back on Corban's notion of the imaginal, the mundus imaginalis. For me, I must have listened to that piece 20 times already by now.
Wow.
It's different. It's different all the time. For me, this time at least, it was a curtain, a shimmering light curtain, not within the curtain, but looking at it from the outside, that was constantly morphing, constantly changing. No idea what's behind the curtain, just a shimmering curtain. That was my impression. Wonderful sounds, Ali. Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for listening and playing it here.
Oh, you're very welcome. Does anybody want to share their thoughts on that piece? Nobody? That's fine. Oh, go ahead, Amanda. You could speak up. Yeah, there's not a lot of people here, so yeah, anybody who wants to speak up, by all means, go for it. You're muted right now, though.
Unmute. Is that,
There you go.
I've got it right. I did it the
Yeah.
wrong way around. Very good with technology, as you can see. Loved the shape and the movement around. You did that so well. So did you design it for surround sound originally?
Yes. Originally is for 4 channel. I
Okay.
think yes, some of them is for 4 channel and 8 channel. And if I have time, I make more version of everything. And after that, I converted it I mean, I convert a 4 channel to stereo. For
Yeah,
this reason,
yeah.
the sound move.
And was this all Super Collider you were using for the sounds?
No, I think for this piece I used Ableton Live.
Oh yeah, me see.
Yeah. Yeah, it is my favorite now. Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. So Ali has a new album that it's actually hasn't been released yet. It's waiting to be mastered, apparently. I was lucky enough to hear an early version of it. And again, help me with the pronunciation. Gazelle Vey. Is that is that correct?
غزل وای.
Gazelle. Say it one more time.
غزل وای.
Thank you. It's a kind of a mixture of things. There is some, at least to my hearing, there is some 100% electronic pieces on there, but there's a lot of pieces that employ a technique, what's called, it's in the acousmatic space. I've heard it called this before, mixed media, where you have a combination of acoustic instruments, but with a fixed medium playing behind that or with it, on top of it, with it, which is, could be tapes, it could be loops, something electronic. So there is a lot of acoustic parts to this. There is a piece on there. Again, you're gonna have to help me. Song for Under the Sea, or is that Song for
A
Under the
Song
Sea?
Below Water.
Song Below Water, thank you. Um, why don't you tell us a little bit about, because I know you wrote your master's thesis on that, which I read, it's very interesting. Why don't you tell us briefly a little bit about that piece?
Song Below Water is based on the sound of animals underwater, and I used a hydrophone for recording sound underwater. And unfortunately, I didn't have money for recording real sound. For this reason, I designed sound for the fixed media of that piece. And after that, I use, I think, saxophone, alto saxophone, bassoon, piano, and timpani for acoustic part of it. And also I designed an electronic extra device inside grand piano for making some noises inside the piano. And it is just technical part of it, but during that time I started working on a piece named The Song of Whale. I think the composer he's an American composer. I always forget his name, but it had some positive effect on my mind for writing this piece.
Great. Yeah, and I know that you were making correspondences between well, let me zoom back a little bit. You had mentioned in your master's thesis about this piece that time takes precedence over pitch. Um, so, and this might be a little bit hard for me to explain, being a non-artist, but you were using the dimensions of a whale to determine the length of the movements of the piece. Is that correct?
Yes, completely correct. The idea that time is more important than pitch is from John Cage.
Right.
And he said that music is not just about pitches. Like romantic or baroque music, that they analyze music based on pitch, for example, C major, G minor, and how we can connect sounds to each other. In modern time, they John Cage said that we must think more about time, because in romantic music, in classical music, they cannot uh, they analyze silence in music, and it is very important. Just silence, and analyzing based on time, we can analyze everything in music: silence,
Yeah.
noises, and uh, the idea of time came from that idea. And I designed three movements based on the shape of whale. I mean, I just connect some part of it to each other, and based on a calculation, I found the duration of every movement.
Yeah, it's
Just
really interesting. As far as pitch goes, though, when you hear a pitch, it's always going to be in relation to another pitch. Um, but all this is within the time frame. Uh, so pitch is subordinated. Is that the right word? I don't know if I should be using the word subordinated when it comes to pitch, but for you in this piece at least, pitch is subordinated to time, but pitch is needed because when people listen to music, they're not going to just hear one pitch. They're going to hear a combination of several pitches, which gives them the sense of the work. Um, so would you say that's accurate?
yes, it is completely correct that uh, in music, listeners, audiences always listen to the relationship between tones.
Right,
For this reason, they can make a connection, they can understand the music, the movement.
right. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about any upcoming projects you might have in the pipeline. Do you have anything brewing? Uh, after the release of this album,
Uh,
when is this album going to be released?
I have no idea, unfortunately. I
Okay,
mean, the publisher is not very precise in, at
okay,
least in my work. Uh, I'm working on my research. It is about the authorship, AI, and contemporary composers or composition, and how we can use AI for our composition, our art, and what is the meaning of authorship in between. It is my research, and also I'm working on my AI. I'm not sure that I'm composer because most of the time I write codes, and I'm working on the my AI version for assistantship for a composer, to help composer to write faster or with more ideas from different things, and AI always go and collect some information for inspiration of the composer or something like that. Yeah.
interesting, very cutting edge. Well, we're looking forward to hearing more, Ali. So, thank you for the body of work that you've got out. You've got several albums out on your webpage. I especially like the album that is based on the sound of paper, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Different types of paper and the sound they produce is really wonderful. But thank you for
Thank you.
joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Um,
you for having me here and
you're ve-
inviting.
you're very welcome. Thank you. So let's switch over to Amanda Stewart, joining us from Cambridge.
Can you
Uh,
hear me okay?
we can, yes, yeah. So, Amanda, let's talk about your background with sound design. What sparked your interest into pursuing this art form?
So, in my 50s, I went back to college. I'd had a big car accident, and nothing like a big thing in your life to sort of shake things up. And I found a master's course at the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama, where it was part-time distance learning. And I got there. It took me 5.5 years. That was the maximum you could do. So I stretched it out over the time because I had life going on at the same time. So the beauty of this, it was obviously you were writing stuff up, but the main focus was the creativity side of it. And one of the modules I did was on sound design and learning all about Ben Burt and his incredible way that he would create sound effects for Star Wars, like dragging the bin down the road, putting out the rubbish bin, and it was the sound of that that he used for the opening of one of the special doors. And it was just his whole creative approach to sound, and I just thought, this blew my mind, really. So that gave me the idea of how to get into doing more of that, and I was researching stuff as well at the same time. So so that was sort of the beginning of experimenting just with pure sound, and yeah, and it was from that point that it went on from there.
That's fascinating. The giving away the Star Wars secrets like that.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I could carry on about that for ages, but just like the lightsabers they did in the bathroom, and they were working out, just, and the simplest things. So, I, w- one of the things we had to do was to, they gave us a film clip that we had to create the sounds for. And that was just such fun, just to like
Oh
be
yeah.
as creative as possible to create the sounds of the blank film. And but then from that I really got into just making music, making sound pieces without pitch. And I just loved taking one sound, like when one of my pieces Oceana, it's just one single sample of killer whales and orcas, or in this case in magnetosphere there was about 5 different samples, and that created the whole piece. And so I spend hours experimenting to make as many different sounds as I can, but somehow I have a very clear audio vision of what I want the piece to do. So I'll experiment with loads of stuff, but a lot will be discounted because it doesn't work with the vision of the
Right.
piece. And then I start to put it together and, yeah, compose it.
Well, we're going to talk about magnetosphere, the piece you were referencing there, with its very unusual and unique one sample that you, well, in this case, it was more, I think it was several, but
Yeah, this one was about 5, I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we'll get into that, but I wanted to, briefly touch on your thoughts on the sound design space as it exists today. Because it seems to me it's getting increasingly democratized, where home studios are much more affordable. And I don't want to say anybody could become a sound designer, but it seems like it's moving in that direction. Um, do you see it that way? Do you see it becoming much more democratized, more, getting out of the university settings, where it was originally kind of embedded because they had all the money. They were able to afford the studios and the speaker setups, and they had the budget. Nowadays, the software is available for everybody. to experiment with. I actually, in my retirement here, I actually just purchased the GRM tools that just came
Yep,
out, the
yep.
new version of the GRM tools. And I've been playing around with that, and it's for me, it's endless hours of fun. I'm really having a good time with it.
Fantastic.
But I'm a non-musician. I used to play bass a long time ago, but I don't know what I'm doing technically. But I do have the desire, and I do actually, I feel that I've heard enough of this music to have sort of a vision in my head of where I want the sounds to go. So yeah, I'm having loads of fun with that. But do you see this happening, this democratization of
Well, I'm doing it, and you're doing
yeah,
it.
right. Yeah,
We're all doing it, and that's the beauty of it. And one of the important thing you just said there, that you had a vision of what you wanted to create. That is, I think, the key, because there's so much choice, and there's so many sounds, and you can, do a million things with one sample, but
right.
then what you selectively choose, and the vision of the piece in your head that you want to create is just the same as if you're writing for an orchestra. It's the same thing. It just happens to be sounds,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and so to be able to do it in your own home. I mean, we're lucky we also have a recording studio, but I do all my work sitting here. I have the GRM tools. Anything I can get my hands on, I will experiment with. And sometimes GRM is great, and other times it's too restricting. Um, yeah, I think I used it in one of my pieces, Oceana, which is from the one sound whale sample. Um, I divided.
Fantastic piece. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
thank you.
Metapsychosis is
Okay.
actually going to be publishing that
All right.
piece as well early
I'll
next
be
year, I
quiet.
think.
But
Yeah.
anyway, basically, I made all these sounds, and then I divided them up into like washing machine sounds or something sounds. I gave them like a rough title so I could put them into categories and then start to put the piece together. But you don't need a big studio. I mean, even Magnetosphere, which is a surround sound piece, I did on 5.1 in the other room. It wasn't as big as this room. So it is, and it's your skill that matters rather than.
Your imagination, your vision. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Well, I feel very empowered now. Thank
Well,
you.
I'm
I
looking forward to
appreciate
hearing
that.
your piece, Michael. So
Yeah,
no
yeah.
pressure. Next time.
Maybe one day. Yeah, maybe
Well,
one day. And I think I mistakenly said GRM tools. They have a new upgraded version of that. It's called Atelier,
oh, I
GRM
haven't got into
Atelier.
that, so you're ahead of
Yeah,
me.
it just came out, maybe a few months ago. I don't know. It's very new. So, um, all right. So let's talk about magnetosphere. And how that piece came into being. So you use really, really unique sound samples for this, and we're going to play this shortly. But the sound samples were provided by an organization called Charisma, which reading here off my notes, the Canadian Array for Real-Time Investigations of Magnetic Activity. Um, Now, to me, that sounds like a proverbial treasure trove of possibilities in sound. And I've never heard anybody else working with this sort of stuff. Maybe there are, but how did you how did you come across this concept?
It was a call went out. So I've got quite used to, like, because it's such a niche thing, every now and again I have a splurge and see what's out there if people are making calls for stuff. And they were calling for composers to write music um, to accompany the sounds. And I didn't want to write the music, I just wanted the sounds. So I did the competition so that I could write the piece of music that I wanted, so that I could have access to the sounds. And they've had lots of publicity all over the world. So there's, that's all
Yeah.
fine for them. And because the chance to actually use real life space sounds was just blew me away. So
Oh yeah.
that that's sort of how it came about. And so I wrote the piece using their sounds, and there were specific sounds that you had access to. So, do you want me to talk about those, or?
Well, I think there's briefly, isn't there? There's 5 different sounds.
I can play them to you if you would like, or just describe them. Up to you.
Well, why don't you just describe them? Because
Okay,
I'm going to play the
play the piece.
piece
Yeah,
shortly
okay.
here.
So there were spherics and tweaks. These are, I'm going to read it because it's technical and so I remember. These are atmospheric phenomena emitted by lightning strokes reverberating through Earth's atmosphere, so you'll hear that sort of thing. Whistlers, low frequency waves originating from thunderstorms, meteorites, or post earthquake events, interacting with plasma particles in the Earth's radiation belts. Dawn chorus, this is the craziest one because it sounds very beautiful, or the title does. But it's a chorus of waves generated near the magnetic equator at local dawn, resembling birdsong, but also known for their killer electrons, which can interfere with satellites and pose a danger to astronauts. So although the dawn chorus sounds lovely, actually it's not good at all. And then the last one is a hiss, a low frequency radio waves that evolve from chorus waves, deflecting fast moving particles in Earth's upper atmosphere. I'm not a scientist, but I was just wowed by the fact that there's this whole thing going on around the Earth, and
Right,
it
yeah.
just sort of blew me away, really.
So are we able to hear, are we able to go outside and hear these sounds? Or are they inaudible to the human ear? And do animals hear these
No.
sounds?
I
You
know
don't,
there's on one of the recordings you hear the chap introducing it and then recording it, so he must have recorded it from Earth, but they're picking it. Oh, I know the important bits. They're normally invisible to human perception, but can be captured and converted into sound waves using VLF, very low frequency, receiver, revealing a vast and dynamic Earth song I've put down here. So, yeah, we can't really hear them, but we can put them through a machine and then hear them.
right, okay. All right, so we're going to play this piece. And I'm sorry, I am having a problem with my iTunes searching, so I have to manually go look it up, but bear with me. Um, Here we go. So this is also a multi-channel piece, but this is a stereo breakdown, right? Okay. Okay, Magnetosphere by Amanda Stuart. Oh, and actually, before we start, this is a very quiet, subtle piece, except in parts, but again, put the headphones on. And I also may suggest turn the volume up a bit too. So Magnetosphere. But no, that was Magnetosphere by Amanda Stuart. And wow, just the minute detail, I felt like I was a lens of a microscope, not just a lens looking at the microscopic, um, and then being violently transported into a windstorm of the macroscopic and then back down again into the microscopic. So that part in the last third where it sounded like a violent windstorm, I'm gonna guess, not that it matters, but I'm gonna guess, is that the dawn chorus?
Yeah, quite a bit of it. Um, a lot of them were just taken and it's building all the layers. So at that point, everything's going for it.
Oh, okay.
But that is the biggest bit with the thunderclaps and everything. So that was the most powerful moment. But they're all sort of in there at that point, but you can't really. It's just like you're submerged in it all. So
Yeah, wow. Anybody want to share their view on that piece, their thoughts?
Yeah, I do. One of the things I love about that, or this kind of thing, it puts me in mind of the uh, sort of false color astronomy photographs, where it's really just like you'll see when NASA maybe publishes photos of nebula or stuff. There are always these gorgeous colors, and that kind of thing gets adopted into films. And when they're showing things in space, it's always these beautifully colored clouds and things. And in reality, that stuff's barely visible. It's all collected different wavelengths of radiation and different kinds of spectrum light coming through dust and things. Very, very subtle differences. And then when NASA assembles that data, they, false color apply it to highlight different features or to sort of bring the data out and make it visible. But you could do that with any kind of things, but then they put a decent amount of care into making the end result photos or the end result presentation of the data look beautiful. And the just the density of data that's implied in the image, and in this case it's like a sound image, but I think it feels like a similar process where it's all of this atmospheric data being collected, and then care being put into the presentation of it so that it's evocative in its sound. Anyway, I really appreciate that. That was a really beautiful piece.
thank you, really appreciate that.
I have three questions
Hopefully, I can answer them.
for both the musicians or anyone else for that matter. So let me just start with something you said, Amanda. You were mentioning the names that the astronomers use for these source sound materials that
Yeah.
you use. And it made me wonder, do you have names for the musical structures that you create? Is there a way you refer to them even in your own mind to say, like, you know what, last Tuesday I was working on this piece and it went whoosh like that. So I'm going to call it, Bob. I'm going to call it something so that I can refer back to it. Do you, either Amanda or Ali have names for these little pieces of sounds these building blocks that you compose with?
Shall I answer? Oh, Ali, do you want to go first or? No, okay. So yes, so I can identify them so that if I'm like, because however many variations there are on this one piece, so I tend to have a vision of what the piece is to be. So it was going to be more dramatic and more soft in the middle and then dramatic again. So basic tonary form, which is, a strong structure in itself. But then I would use a word to describe them so that like a washing machine. Okay, this is like it's, or this is, whatever it might be that I can visually imagine it, or it's a twinkle or whatever it might be. So in order to, because I tend to create by going through all my samples first and picking out things that resonate with the piece that I want to work, and then grouping them. And so the groups have a title, so I know roughly what I'm working with, so that I can go in and pick out things. It's like making a palette of sounds rather than a color palette. It's a palette of sounds, if that makes sense.
Sure. Ali, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have any name for every new sound. I just think about the effects or algorithm that I can change the structure of the sound, and it is the way that I can find the sound that I need for a composition. For example, I have a piece that it starts with noise, completely white noise, but after a few seconds, the audience understand that it is the sound of bells, because I chopped, I break the sounds to each other, and in this way I make noise. I have no words for describing it, but I use some different techniques for changing them to each other. And when I don't make before the composition, I just make the sound when I need it. Just it.
So it sounds like your style is more dynamic, and the way that you catalog these things, at least in your mind, is not so much on what they are, but like what you have to do to produce them. Is that correct?
Yes, I have many recording, because I have many different recorders, and I always record everything everywhere. And I think as raw material I can use them, but I need to work to them on them to have the sound that I need.
Okay. Okay.
Last month, Mike, there was one of the artists here, Valentin Sisman. He had a project where he polled, it was like 50 or 55 different acousmatic musicians, specifically asking them about the sound library, what their thoughts of a sound library is and how they use one. So I could actually send you the link to that. That might shed some light too on your question.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that you just didn't tell me that I was missing the point by trying to like come up with names for these things.
Well, not really. Yeah, no, it's not missing. It is, for me, it's the point.
Oh, sorry, I'm making fun of Mike
Oh,
because he's
okay.
always telling me I'm missing something.
You know each other too well, so that's okay.
Yeah, so
I
not to take up. I'm sorry, Amanda. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I tend to, each piece has its own set of sounds. So I don't tend to, occasionally I'll use things, but quite often if it's one topic, then I want that to feel like a cohesive whole, a complete piece in itself. So that for me is the joy, is to make something out of very little into something that somehow feels more. It's not very good English, but never mind.
And so my second question is, especially directed towards you, Amanda. You spoke several times about having a vision for a piece. And I know you were talking about something a little bit different, but it made me think of synesthesia, because often and just for anyone who doesn't know what it is or hasn't experienced it, it's the idea that a certain sensory input like sound can be experienced as vision or as an emotion or as like physically in some way. And I think we all have it to a degree, some people much more than others. And what I'd like to know from your point of view is, do you think that there's any connection with your like vision for a piece, the way you visualize it in your mind, even if it's kind of like not something easy to describe, and the crossing over of sensory input?
For me, it's all about emotion, really. So I want to take the listener on a journey, and it might be a joyful journey. And quite often have drama and the opposite. So you have those moments of drama and stillness. So for me, it is all about that. Even though it's a sound,
Yeah.
for me, it has emotion, just like the sound of a violin would. So a sound and how I use it, the pitch of it, the way it moves around, the way it's filtered, everything about that sound is, it's taken care, just as like you would record a violin sound playing a thing. The hours of nurturing the sound are just the same. And for me, I am trying to engage and take you on a journey. And that may connect with you internally or it may not. You just might just enjoy the sounds. But normally there's some emotion in it because that's why I create stuff. So
Yeah,
not really.
I actually find this type of music to be very emotional. Much more than your typical, verse chorus rock music, which other people tend to have a very strong emotional reaction to, but I don't. So different things for different people. Let me pause there. I've got another question, but Mike, I don't want to monopolize all the time
Well,
here.
it just as a continuation to your last question, Mike, there are some composers that have a very specific narrative in mind when composing, um, that they want the listener to follow, that their intent is to show this to the listener. But if a listener comes back and says, no, 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 I went to a completely different emotional place or imaginative place, um, I've actually have run into musicians where they take it as an it's an offensive. Uh, it's something that no, you're wrong. It's like a matter of being wrong and right. And how could they? How could anybody say, dare to say what I should be feeling during a specific piece? You know, but
I totally understand that because if you're a musician or composer and you spent like 3 years writing this piece of music and you finally realize it and someone says, it made me think of this really good burrito I had last weekend. I totally get that. But the reality of it is that there's a meaning of the object and the subject. The music is somewhat objective in that it exists in the physical world, in a particular medium, and you, the listener, are very subjective. So of course, that's the whole point, I think, of your introduction. Acousmatic music means something different for everyone.
yeah,
And we've all got different life experience, so we all bring a whole host of things behind us, a whole life, whole generations of all sorts of things, and um, if it in some way connects, however it connects, then I'm really pleased with that because it means it somehow somebody's found a way into the piece, however crazy a piece of work it might be.
Thank you.
and did
For
you have
both,
another? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
no, it's sort of following on some of what was just being talked for both Ali and Amanda. When you're composing, when you're actually composing, are you how much of it is a how much of it is an idea of some kind that you're starting with that you're trying to build into, and how much of it is um just discovering ideas in the sounds that you're working with? It like my comparison in my head is to the way I paint now, where I used to work from drawings that I would do, like to plan the whole thing out and then paint. And I found that I enjoy working more by just starting with paint and not knowing what the piece is going to be. And I discover the piece more than paint it, right? Like, and so I'm wondering with these pieces, they sound more like that process. And I'm curious how much of that is one way or the other in the way you compose.
Do you want to go first, Ali, or? Okay. So, I think I tend to work both ways. So,
Uh-huh.
especially so, um, I completely get the art thing. I've got into doing art, and I've discovered
Mhm.
that you know, if I sit down and some days it doesn't work, but another day something arrives and you don't know where it's arrived from. So I have that experience when I'm writing music or sound and art, is that you sit down some days and you play, and all of a sudden, goodness me, I had to do, I was writing a piece for, I don't know if you've heard of the Citizen Memory Project, but they collect sounds from around the whole world, and people send them in. It's an amazing thing, and composers get to use the sounds and create with them. And so it's a very special thing, because these, you know, they're from, yeah,
It's a way of preserving the past.
yeah,
If you
and the
do that.
present. So sometimes it could be, you know, a cityscape, or, you know, New York in the silence in New York during COVID, or all sorts of wonderful things. And one of the pieces I did was they did a project called Music for Sleep, because the world was finding it hard to sleep and do all that stuff. And that one, I just sat down, found a fantastic sound, and improvised the whole thing start to finish, and said to my husband and son, well, what do you reckon? You know, I just twiddled, and they said, don't touch it, just leave it. So that one just arrived. Now, how rare is that? But it arrived. And the same with my painting. I can doodle, and then something I haven't even expected will appear. And another time, for example, for this piece, I knew, having heard the sounds, that I wanted the drama and the beauty and more drama at the end. That was like my structure in my head. I wanted to take you on a story, on a journey, but I think that's the same if it's a piece of artwork. You want to take the viewer round a painting into different things, and some are more important than others. And it's exactly the same with music or sound. You want them to go on a journey with you and to notice little bits along the way, and then how they relate to it, they do. I don't know if that answers quite
Right,
Yeah.
well.
right on, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Barella,
So,
did you have another question, or?
Yeah, I do. This is really directed towards Ali. You mentioned that you're playing around with artificial intelligence and trying to explore its, and forgive me if I get this wrong. I didn't write down exactly what you said, but it sounded like you're exploring its ability to be creative, you know, maybe in the same way as a human, or maybe in a different way. And I was hoping you could share some thoughts about that and talk about, you know, your process, what you've learned, if anything interesting at this point.
Yes, sure. Thank you for your question. My last paper that I presented in Brazil was about the authorship. My question was that if I use AI, who's the author? I'm composer or not? And I tried to find the answer for this question, and finally I concluded that AI cannot be the author. I mean, it can be a co-composer, and composer is a person that his role has been changed in the AI age, and the composer should understand this situation this time and just use these tools for being more creative. And author is the composer. I mean the human.
Okay, so even if a human gives an AI system a very vague prompt, like, you know, make some very dramatic music with a science fiction sort of feel, and just lets the AI do whatever it's want. In your view, the human is still the author because it gave direction to the AI.
Exactly. When a person works with AI, he or she can be a musician or not, can be a composer or not. But when he writes the prompt, it means that he knows many things about music, at least some ideas. And after that, uh, the AI make and generate many different versions of music, and the person select that music. So who's the composer?
So the human works with the raw material that the AI is generating based on the human prompt, but it's not necessarily the final, what the AI spits out is not necessarily the final version of the
Exactly,
piece, right?
exactly. And I think AI can help to produce sound, music, and I believe that the composer is the person who wrote the prompt.
Hmm. Let me ask a more difficult question, and I do not have the answer to this. But given that these AI music generation systems were trained on, millions of pieces of other people's compositions, and they're sort of an amalgam of all of that, do any of those underlying authors of the training music, do they actually have any right of ownership or any right to say that they contributed to that piece? Again, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here, but I'd like your point of view as a working musician.
Yes, sure. Uh, Not AI. I learn music from different composers, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, and I heard a piece now from Amanda. Of course, all of them has many effects on my mind and my creativity. So if I inspired with Amanda's music, who's the composer, me or Amanda? Of course, me.
Okay.
And I think AI learn from different composers, but the person who select and use that material is the composer. And of course, AI must learn from different composers.
Could I ask a
Okay.
follow-up question?
Go ahead.
Yes, sure.
So, Ali, your AI research, I think where Mike is going is kind of like asking about total generation. But I'm wondering if your AI research isn't or the AI that you're coding more along the lines of something like Earcom's Open Music, where it's more of a compositional assistant in that you might be able to ask the AI, given the following sequence, I would like to orchestrate this over the following instruments. Can you please suggest um, arrangements with these instruments that will emphasize the brassiness or the roughness or this or that? Is it more like that, or are you trying really to do complete generation like the scenario Mike outlined, where it's drawing upon, loads and loads of scores in a particular style that have particular categorizations and keywords that would generate like a sci-fi score or a horror movie score or whatever, versus a really specific compositional problem?
Yes, I think it can be both. I mean, sometimes we can ask AI for giving us a theme for theater or soundtrack, or sometimes we have the melody and we want it to harmonize it and write chords for it. Or sometimes we have a piece for piano and ask AI for orchestration. But I believe that AI has the best rule in what is its name, in giving us more idea. I mean, when I write for strings, I always think in a strings style. But when I want to write for example, clarinet quartet, of course, I sometimes cannot think in that way. And may AI has many information and huge amount of repertoire, it can give me more ways for being creative or something like that.
So it's more of an idea generator,
Yes.
yeah, than a co-composer, really.
Sometimes it can be co-composer too. I mean, for example, for orchestration, I compose for piano and it orchestrated for orchestration. I mean, for an orchestra. Sorry for my English. And it can has different rule because there are many different algorithm. I mean, it can redefine itself again and again and again in different new ways.
Well, thanks for that really detailed answer, Ali. It's something I think about quite a lot. So thanks for your
Thank
for
you.
sharing experiences there.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are, as usual, running a little bit late. Amanda, just quickly, I just wanted to ask you, do you have any future projects on the back burner?
Acousmatic ones or generally?
Sure,
Just
either or.
generally? Okay.
Yeah.
In the middle of finishing a video art piece, which I'm very much invested in. It's a mushroom video art piece, and so it's all about transformed mushrooms, as well as so that they're my photographs that I've taken, but they're all like layered and transformed as if you would really using the same processes that I do with music. So the music's all written, so this was a bit of music rather than a sound piece. So that one's coming to fruition. I'm trying to think what else I've got going on. I'll do more of, I've mentioned Cities and Memory. Do go and look at it. It's a fantastic thing. So I did, I haven't done the last 2 calls because I've had my first art exhibition and various things happening this year at this age, which has been very wonderful. But next year I'll be doing more. So what they do is they put out a call every so often for composers and for sound artists to send in the sounds from all over the world. And so I'll be doing more of that next year. This year I did a piece about gorillas. So it was the sound of gorillas endangered in Uganda in the special, can't think of the name, protected area, national park, whatever it's got, UNESCO Heritage Park, there you go. And so I created a piece, a sound piece with the sound of the gorillas in the undergrowth, and then added in clarinets and various other bits. So I should be doing more of that as well next year. So lots happening, just not enough time.
Is that available to be viewed anywhere?
The soundtrack is, you can listen to that on my website. So it's called, let me tell you what it's called. Hold on one second. Let me have a look. Gosh, what's it called? Just give me one second. So it's in the portfolio, Gentle Giants it's called. So if you go to my portfolio, I've got to try and find where you are now. Oh, I know, hold on. There we go. So if you look on the portfolio, there's lots there, but it's called Gentle Giants. And that was it was a mixture of sound and transformed clarinets for clarinet.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful, and I am really looking forward to seeing the mushroom video as well.
I have to say, it's so close. I've like got 30 seconds, and I'm trying to join one section in with another. And you know what it's like if you're mixing something when your frequencies are going. It's the same thing with the visuals. They're just not. But yeah, it's not far away.
And what is your website, Amanda?
AmandaStuart.com.
Okay, that's easy enough. So that's Stuart.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. And Ali has his well-stocked Bandcamp page. You could find him there, right? And his website is, what's your website address, Ali?
myname.com, alibalighi.com, yes.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we're going to conclude here. Was there any other questions from Bill or anybody else? Okay, we are going to stop here then, and thank you, Amanda and Ali. I
Thank you for
really
having
appreciate
us.
you being here, and also for everybody who has shown up. Thank you for coming and checking this thing out. I appreciate your engagement was fantastic on this session. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. We may be doing another one of these next month, or I might be taking a month of December off, but possibly another one in December, but with a couple of other artists that Metapsychosis published. If not December, but definitely early January. So that's and of course, the ongoing Acousmatic Crossing series on Metapsychosis. If you just go to metapsychosis.com and click on their features, you'll see Acousmatic music, and that'll take you to the landing page of everything we've published so far. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you. Lovely to meet you all and have a chat.
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks.
Nice
All
meeting
right.
everyone.
Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.